Hello, once again. My name is Jeremy Kramer. I am the sales engineer for the West, and today we'll be meeting with Steve from Farpointe to go over their current readers and talk about some current offerings that we offer with
on the market and what you're seeing out there.
Absolutely, Jeremy. Thank you. Thank you very much for having us here. First off, we're very, very happy to be working with Napco, and I'm happy to say that, I've been with Farpointe for going on 17 years, and I believe that Napco was one of the first companies that I went to visit when I first started with Farpointe as the North American sales manager. Saw Rich Goldsobel and the guys there at Continental, and they were always very, very nice to me, and we've been doing very, very well, with Continental Access and the Napco security group ever since then, doing quite well. As far as Farpointe data, we're doing great. Thank you for asking. We are a very unique company in the sense that being a manufacturer in the electronic industry and of course specifically in the access control side is that we get the opportunity to work with several different PACS companies, physical access control system manufacturers, and I think that gives us a very unique perspective. The other thing about us, as far as being a unique company, is that we only do readers and credentials. All we do is RFID technology and the products that go along with that. So, we're not really going out there making controllers. We don't make controllers. We don't make software, anything like that. Truly just an RFID company. And based on that, we strive not only to be your supplier of our products, but also we strive to be a technology partner with you as well. So when Farpointe Data works with the Napco group or with Napco Security, specifically, in the past working with Continental, but we've always got both that that upfront in the trenches exposure, working with your RSMs in the field, selling Farpointe Data products to go along with your system deployments. But we're also, as an OEM, we're also always working in the background, with your engineering teams and your product development teams to see how we can act as a technology partner for some of your future developments as well. So, there's always something cooking at Farpointe Data with Farpointe and our partners. And you can imagine, Jeremy, too, that we get a lot of requests. Especially as the industry is evolving and new technologies, higher security technologies, mobile and those types of things, and the mobile deployment. Obviously nowadays, rather than sending you a piece of plastic with data associated with it and all that. Now, of course, it's just moving data, or just moving that. We don't need the plastic. We can actually send it to you via the cloud onto your smartphone. And I do apologize for that, by the way. Speaking of smartphones, they typically go off when you're in the middle of an interview, and it's way over there, Jeremy. So,
One of the cool things that I just found out about from Rich is, can you tell me a little bit about the branding that you guys do? Like you guys do custom branding, and a lot of my dealers I don't think know that. So can you talk to that a little bit about the custom printing and things that you do like that? Because I don't think a lot of our dealers know about this. I didn't know about this program, and I didn't realize you do that. I think that's huge, right? If the customer wants to put their logo on your readers.
It's a real, to me, Jeremy, it's a no-brainer. And I'll tell you why, is that, when you're out there, and of course you're a system integrator, you're usually in a region, and if things go great, maybe who knows, you expand and you go to other regions. But let's say you're just in that one region. It could be Boston, it could be LA, it could be whatever, right? You're looking to carve out a name for yourself, and in doing so, I think that brand recognition plays a big role. Think about the largest companies out there that and you know them by brand, and and especially when you're out there and you've got competitors and you're in a competitive industry, as we are. It's good to have that branding out there. And think about it, right? In the physical access control space, Napco, of course, is the engine. You've got the software, you've got the controllers, you've got all that, but you don't have that visibility that the reader has. And the reader, of course, being at the door or even on the perimeter outside or even inside. And so, to have, the integrator's name on that, we just think that's a great synergy. Typically these guys are going to, put a window decal on or something of that nature. But, and our thought is, why not just have it on the reader as well? And then also, we believe strongly in putting it on the card. Years ago, we were putting all the nomenclature on the card using inkjet printers. But because of people moving the card in and out of a wallet or a purse or whatever the case may be, that inkjetting would wear off. So we actually went to using laser etchers inside of our card programmers to put that data on the card, the crucial data, the ID and the batch coding. But we also found, as a sidebar, that we could do a lot more with that laser etching. In fact, you could get quite intricate with it in terms of putting logos, putting more text down on the card. So we started thinking about it, and this went along with Farpointe's OEM roots. We're not all that caught up in Farpointe branding because our origins are as an OEM manufacturer. We're very used to people calling our product somebody else's name or calling it by somebody else's name. So, this is kind of a natural thing for us. But as far as what we found with the card is that the added benefit is, and there is a fiscal element to it, is pushing the card reorder back to the origin of where it came from. In other words, the integrator or dealer worked very, very hard to go out there and win that job. And, even if it's a smaller job, eventually there's going to be some reorder required for those cards. If that card says Farpointe's name on it, well, then naturally, after they've forgotten, they're gonna call whosever name is on that card. So we think that by, if you're in the business, you're putting a lot of cards out there, on a regular basis, then that card should say, that dealer integrator's logo should have their name, their phone number, and you can even put a message on it for card reorder or service contact, a URL or a phone number or whatever you want to put.
Wow.
It just, again, push that to you, because if you don't, what happens is, could be a 6 months, a year down the road, they're going to run out of cards. Somebody's going to go to their purchaser, throw a card at them and say, hey, get me 100 more of these or however more we need. And they're not going to know that person has, they don't have any history or of what's going on. So they're going to go by what the card says. And if the card says the manufacturer, that's who's going to get the call. Now, whether that trickles down to the dealer integrator, who knows? But in this particular case, it's just more about creating your own branding, promotional environment, through the access control system. And, it's simple to do. It doesn't cost a lot to do. In fact, some of the options are very, very appealing. And again, for what you get, I mean, if you're in it for the long haul and you're looking to build that brand in your community, as an integrator dealer, why not? Or maybe you're looking to glean off a branding that's already there. Maybe you've got you'd be surprised how many companies out there that have been around for decades don't, they'll still put a card out there that says, HID on it, as opposed to putting a card out there that says their name on it. Or Farpointe, or, again, I mean, brand, again, and if you were to take these people and say, hey, after 20 years, can you imagine if you got all that card business from every system you ever put out there, that would be very appealing. And I think branding is a way to do that, to push that back where it belongs, to the people that did all the blood, sweat, and tears to get that system put in.
Well, no, that's awesome. I mean, a lot of people looking for that branding and they're going outside of the spectrum. Why not order your card readers and send them with the logo on there?
Oh yeah, and one thing I'll tell you, Jeremy, is what we're very active in it. So if any of the dealer integrators out there, if you want to see what this would look like, be more than willing to put together an artist rendering and send it to you to see, how your brand might look on a reader, to see how your brand would look on a card, where you want to put it, what message you may want to put on it. That's all stuff that Farpointe would be more than willing to send you out at again, it's just an artist rendering. We do it no charge whatsoever, just to show what it is.
And that's something we can do per region, reaching out to the local RSM for Napco, and then get a hold of you, and we can set that up very easily, I'm assuming. So now, with what I like about Farpointe is the simplicity of you guys, right? You only deal with cards, and sorry, everybody just blowing me up today. So a little bit about I'd like to maybe talk about the simplicity of your readers, right? The card credentials and that. What can you talk to a little bit about kind of like the formats that you guys are dealing with right now, and maybe your readers of a dealer who's maybe doesn't want to spend a whole lot on a reader, but is looking for a really good reader that's going to look nice on the outside of the building. Maybe you can show us that, and to that effect.
Well, let's get the elephant off the table first. And what I'll do is I'll actually go to the Farpointe website, if that's okay.
Perfect.
And let's go there, because in fact, I've got this part queued up the first thing I did have queued up is I wanted to show you is that as an OEM manufacturer, we our team, we don't have to have a massive team, 'cause we work with system manufacturers primarily, and you can see the group here is fairly tight. Francisco, of course, is our leader, and he resides over in California, which of course is where Farpointe Data is. You've got Rich on the West Coast, myself in the northern region, and Tom in the south, and you can see how that all plays out as far as the North American market and also into Canada and Mexico. What was I going to say is, come on now.
No, take your time.
So when Farpointe, and this is the Farpointe Data website, and I think anybody could give you a PowerPoint presentation, and typically after you provide a PowerPoint presentation, everybody asks the typical questions like, "Hey, can I get a copy of that PowerPoint?" It's like, well, I got to do something even better. Is that we like to think of our website as a tool. There's lots of resources here. There's lots of reference, and it's all things relating to readers and Farpointe Data reader platforms. If you go straight over here to the RFID products, this is a complete list of everything that we do, and categorized, of course. Connect mobile-ready readers and credentials. You can see Ranger long-range receivers and transmitters, Delta contactless smart card readers and credentials, Pyramid proximity, and then we get into some of the specialty things. And of course, being an OEM manufacturer, Farpointe can even take it down to the OEM module level. And this is how we deal with companies like Napco and others that may want to, like, say, embed RFID technology in something they're working on, maybe a design, maybe a kiosk, maybe an intercom or something of that nature. So this is Farpointe Data and how we operate. We obviously, not as an OEM, we obviously have productized our product, and I'll start off with the flagship. This is the Connect platform, and Connect is Farpointe Data's latest 13.56 megahertz contactless smart card reader that also supports mobile credentials as well. So you've got the best of both worlds here. You've got the security that you'd want in a greenfield application. In other words, hey, you got a brand new system out there. They want a secure platform for their readers and credentials. Connect is the product to go with. It can basically take your card encryption up to the highest level, Desfire EV3, which is currently an unhacked card format. And again, it can fit into many different applications. You can see here, just by the graphic, again, it supports both mobile using the Farpointe Connect mobile wallet app. And of course, it can also read hard credentials to include cards and fobs. There's a few different footprints. The CSR35L that you can see here, and you can download a data sheet here. So you've got everything you need here. It's a 2-in-1 actually. So the CSR35 is both your mullion and your single switch plate mount. We like to do that. We like to make things, as like you mentioned, Jeremy, we like to make things as easy as possible. So rather than say, hey, we have two different SKUs, a mullion and a switch plate, we just give you both of those backs in the same box, and now you got the mullion and the switch plate in the same unit, CSR35. We obviously can't do that with the two footprints for the combo keypads, but here's the CSR62L for mullion and the CSR64L. We always do combo keypads with just about every product that we have out there. And I think that there's a good rule of thought on that is, think about it. Everything has been made, everything gets hacked. Everything eventually gets hacked. Think about it. Proximity's been hacked. Eventually everything's going to be hacked. How can you maybe avoid that or even upgrade your security in crazy times? Put a combo keypad on the perimeter. It's good for everybody. You can firm up your security in troubling times. Let's say you do get a hack on your thing. Well, guess what? Go to card plus pin, and at least you have some backup. It's a good thing to do on the perimeter. And for the sales guy out there, not only are you doing something good, but you're going to make a little bit of extra money firming up the security on the outside. Think about it. Even with a proximity environment, a 125 environment, if you go card plus pin, you alleviate the cloning. You can still clone it, but the pin does not reside on the card. So again, you can firm it up a little bit that way. Basically the same way that we all get our money out of the bank, if you know what I mean.
So basically what you're saying is, and this is a nice, cheaper way of doing it, is the card readers on the outside that have been cloned at Home Depot. Mm-hmm. You're saying that I can take that reader, just simply enable the keypad option, and now I'm not hackable anymore with my fob now, because now I need to just put a fob and pin on there, and now I just don't need to upgrade the entire card infrastructure. I just need to put a simple keypad on there.
If you
That's
insist on card plus pin, again, I mean, I think I'll give you an example, Jeremy. A gentleman called me up during the whole COVID crisis, and a lot of people were doing upgrades on their systems at that time. And he said, "Hey, listen, Shep, everybody's telling me that this proximity's been, hacked, and so I need to change it out. I got 108 readers out on this one site." I'm like, "Okay," and he goes, and he told me what he had, and 8 of them were combo keypads. And just out of curiosity, I asked him. I said, "Listen, are the 8 combo keypads? Are they on the door, the outside, the perimeter doors?" And he said, "Exactly." I said, "You've got less of a problem than most people, because you can go to card plus pin temporarily until you can get the cards and the readers that you need." Because the big problem that he had in terms of doing the transition is that he couldn't get the readers he needed. They were like 30 to 40 weeks out in terms of being able to get them. And the customer had the money now. So he wanted to do the upgrade. But, again, he couldn't get the product. I was like, well, again, I think that anytime that you can update or give yourself a little added advantage at the door, it's always good to put a combo keypad there. So here's the deal. It's not going to firm up the security on the proximity on the 125 side. It's not going to do that. You're still going to be able to clone that card. But the pin does not reside on the card. So if you're using card plus pin, while the card is still good, if somebody cloned that card and they didn't have the pin, they're not going to get in. It's as simple as that.
perfect. That's a cheaper solution than upgrading 120 readers, and you're just held at the perimeter, and you've already secured half your problem.
Exactly that. I mean, I think, again, listen, not everybody is made out of money, right? And so, to do a full system change out, or put it this way, what if you got 10,000 prox cards out there, or 20,000 prox cards out there? That's a lot of people to rebadge. And, and I think the sky is falling mentality of like, oh my gosh, we got to change, we got to rip all this out and, charge you all this money to put this in. It's like, the sky isn't necessarily falling. Let's see how we can firm it up now. Let's use a little OPSEC training and say, hey, what can we do now to firm it up? And then, incrementally give them a plan to take it, maybe that fits better into their budget, to change out the cards, to change out the readers to something better. And I think what really, again, to go back, Jeremy, what kind of bothered me a little bit was how, we almost seem very cutthroat in the industry, is how we want to expose our own industry to say, oh, look at this. And it's like, guys, take it easy. Let's be a little bit more strategic with this as to how we can help these people, with their security. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're about, man. I think it's almost a presumed thing with us, is that security is what we sell. And so,
Yeah.
we got to make sure that we do it right, but also don't, shoot ourselves in the foot doing it. And, to use this logic as far as a combo keypad, I don't care if you're putting the highest level of card security out there, EB3, Signal, whatever. I still think that on the perimeter, you should always put a combo keypad, because think about it. Cybersecurity is real. Hackers out there are real. We just live in this environment now. Everything gets hacked. So even if that high level of security gets hacked, again, you can still fall back on 2-tier authentication, the card and the PIN, to get in the door and get in the door securely.
No, well, we're on that subject. Do any of these keypads have the dual factor? Where they do high frequency and low frequency? Are any of these readers built for that? So maybe if the customer is looking to go to that, maybe they go to a card and pin, like you were saying, but they know in the near future they want to upgrade to MyFair, which is a more secure format. Can they do that with these readers?
They can do it with some readers. They can unfortunately they cannot do it at this time with a Farpointe data reader, and I'll tell you why. Is having the combination of 125 kilohertz and 13.56 megahertz in the same reader is a patent that is still active and owned by HID. Our understanding is this is running out next year, but there have been a few cases with different reader companies out there that, again, it is still a very active patent. So, but that is a very smart thing. I mean, if you would really have the trifecta, if you had the 125, the 13.56, and the combo keypad. I mean, again, you just have that. It's funny because we think of keypad entry as archaic, and I'm not suggesting that we use it, as the sole way of getting through the door.
Yeah.
But if you add it to something, and think about it, the military's been doing this for years, insisting on 2-tier or even 3-tier authentication.
Yeah.
So, it is something that's very valid. And all you have to do is just, go to the ATM today to validate it for yourself, because that's how you're getting your money out of the ATM.
Well, and the price range on your readers are very, very good. I mean, as
Mhm,
you can see here, we've got a single gain keypad, and you have a mullion based
mhm, mhm.
keypad as well. And the price point is very, very good
I
on
appreciate
these.
that, Jeremy. We pride ourselves on our keypad technology. We have been using capacitive technology in our keypads for as long as I've been at Farpointe. And like I said, I'm in my 17th year. It's funny because back then, I mean, you saw a lot of different technology. Our combo keypads before that were using piezo technology that we actually OEM'd from Essex. But we developed our own capacitive technology, our capacitive version. And again, it's funny now we're seeing everything kind of go that way, but they're very robust. Everything is fully potted. I mean, the beauty about these is not only I think are they priced very well, but again, we know a thing or two about readers because we've been doing it for so long. But they're also built to really go out there and stand the outside elements. I mean, a combo keypad is typically going to go on the perimeter, so you got to really build it to go outside. So these readers are all built to the IP67 standard. They can take some very high and low temperature ratings. I think it's plus 40 to minus 40. So, again, there's no question of whether or not you can put the combo keypad out there. They got beautiful blue LED backlights, so they look real nice. And I got news for you. If you put somebody's logo on there, it's going to look even nicer. We'll do you proud, integrators and dealers, by putting your name on this beautiful product. And
Well,
and
yeah,
I will
that's
say
awesome.
this. I mean, this is the Connect line. I mean, you can see obviously we have a full plethora of hard credentials to go with it, as well as the mobile credential here, the CMC2. But and you can also see too because Jeremy, it's interesting you mentioned this because we can't do the multi of having the 125 and the 1356 together. We actually do have another line called the PCR, which is a proximity Bluetooth reader. Okay. Now, a lot of people might think that that's putting lipstick on a pig because you're thinking, well, wow, you're taking something that's kind of like an older technology and you're putting a new technology in it. But see, again, we realize, and I think we talked about this earlier, is that 50% of what's going out the door for RFID companies is still 125 kilohertz proximity, even in lieu of the vulnerabilities and the cloning issues and everything that are associated with the frequency. But that being said, well, what are you going to do? Well, maybe you can give them a path moving forward. Because here's the deal: while 125 kilohertz is unsecure, mobile technology is as secure as the highest levels of card security. So you talk about a transitional reader of 125 to 1356. Why not 125 to mobile?
Yeah.
If people
Nobody
want to,
loses their phone.
nobody loses their phone. And the second thing is this is because we give you combo keypad versions in that line as well. If you've got some stragglers out there that, hey, I want to keep my 125 card, well, you can, but you're going to have to use a card plus pin when you get in the door. And we can facilitate that as well. Well, how come the mobile guys don't have to do that? Because that platform is secure and your old card is not. So, just so many different ways that you can work around
Yeah.
it, in this particular scenario. So, but also if you go up here too, I will say this is over here on the right, you can see you can actually request a mobile sample. So any one of your dealer integrators out there, if they want to check out the Farpointe Data Connect platform, like how it's going to look on their phone, how it's going to operate on their phone, you can request the mobile credential sample, which by the way, the mobile wallet, the Farpointe Data mobile wallet is a free download at the at Google Play or at the Apple Store. It is listed under Connect Wallet, which is CONEKT. But if you go there, that is a free download. And again, here you can request the free mobile sample. We will send it to you electronically. And again, just to give you a touchy-feely, as to how it's going to look on your phone, how you can play with it. We also have sales sheets on everything. So if you go here, maybe something that you wanted to utilize in a proposal, something you wanted to utilize to show your customer, you do have downloadable, printable data sheets here that are available to you. We also have installation guides, we have wiring guides, we have just everything that you can possibly have as far as support materials. If you're putting anything into a specification or anything of that nature, we also have reference guides, mounting guides, and image library, bid specifications, everything that basically cover all the reader platforms, that includes Connect, the Ranger, and also our even our proximity. Perhaps one of the most unique products that Farpointe data provides, and it's very, very popular, is our Ranger product. This is a long range product using 433 megahertz long range, very, very secure. It is basically gives you the ability through active transmission to go over 200 feet of read range at a gate or other application. And basically what you're doing is, whether it be multifamily where you're going in, or a gated community or something of that nature, or even going into a commercial parking area, again, rather than having to, like, say, roll down your window and present a credential or whatever the case may be, a Ranger transmitter, and we make 2-button and 4-button versions. You can see here's the receivers and the transmitters, is basically you can push the range up to, again, 200 feet, or even bring it down to a foot. So anywhere in between, it's very, very customizable in the field. You can walk test it. I guess what I would really tell you on this, Jeremy, for any kind of long range application where reliability and maybe that extra read range is important, this is a rock solid product. It's incredibly it's incredibly stable. I had a product manager tell me one time, he goes, you know what, if it absolutely positively has to work, that 433 is rock solid. Now, keep in mind, it's in conjunction. If you were compared to other products, you'd look at like ultra high frequency transponders, like at a gate or something like that, where you've got the big transponder by the gate, and then everybody's got the passive tags on the car. This is a little bit different. This is an active transmission from the user to a receiver, but in doing that, we can go, again, we can push that range. The transmitters use a lithium battery that can be replaceable by the user. It's not going to scramble the memory or anything like that. And also in the back of the key fob, which are the back of the transmitter, you see here's the 2-button and the 4-button. In the back of those, we can put a fob that matches the ID on the transmission. And that can be a proximity fob, that can be a DeskFire EV3 fob, it can be whatever you need, again, matching the ID. So you can seamlessly take the Ranger and move it into different applications. Maybe they've got a parking application that's just not working real well. This is one that can firm that up. I had a situation like that at an ISC show where somebody came in, they were working for the Public Works, they were working in dump trucks, that were taking salt and sand for the roads during the winter. And these trucks had really thick windshields. That ultra high frequency can be real flaky on just, certain things. And they were having a real hard time getting that transmission. They said usually the drivers had to stop, roll down their window, actually get out of the truck and with the tag and try to get it to go so they could get in and do their business. And it was just creating all sorts of problems. We suggested the Ranger. We sent them a sample. They loved it. It made so much more convenient for them, and it just made everybody happy. And and that's just one application. I mean, there's so many different ways you can deploy this product. So
with just to clarify on, so like the 4-button, let's just say the 4 buttons. So I could actually use that for 4 different gates, and in the back of that would have a built-in fob where I could walk up to the reader and swipe it. So now I have a keychain with a built-in fob where I can take that and hit that, and that's going to open the door, correct?
Exactly right. You're exactly right.
And see, I never knew that. I would always deal with this over at a previous company because we used you guys a lot, and I always wondered what that extra part number was, and it was with Prox. Like, oh, so now I learned something new today, that fob can have a built-in credential on the back to let you in as a fob. So I could put that on my keychain. And just to clarify, your 4-channel receivers, if I have 2 or 3 gates in the same area, each of those buttons can activate a different gate with one receiver, correct?
That is the beauty of it, Jeremy. There are 4 Wiegand outputs in that receiver. Usually, an ultra high frequency transponder gives you one output. It's like 1-to-1, and that transponder can be pretty salty, man. They're usually anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000, depending on which product you're using. A Ranger receiver with 4 Wiegand outputs is about 1/10 of that cost. So you've really got some good value there. And then depending on the users, again, it can get fairly exciting. Again, it's a different way to look at it, but it can also get very, very exciting for the dealer integrator, because I'll give you an example. I knew somebody back in the day who worked at Continental who sold a gated community in Pennsylvania and sold them 3,000 transmitters to go along with that. Now you can go out and you can sell 3,000 clamshell cards, and hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Or you go out and sell 3,000 transmitters, which again, that's a much more exciting sale, as they are more expensive. But again, have enough value, I think, built in to warrant that extra cost. And I will tell you this, man, people love this product. They just love it. Once they get their teeth sunk into it, their mind just starts to go with all the different ways that they can deploy it. It is a true problem solver. And, also, I think something that people will really appreciate, a product that you can sleep at night. You sell this, you can sleep at night because it's rock solid. If people call up and say they're having a problem with a Ranger, we're like, okay, let's really see what's going on here, because it's just again that strong of a product, really is.
Oh, they are very solid. I can tell you, I've installed a couple of these, and just having even just the 2 button for an in and out, or
Mhm.
2 gates that are close by, or a transmitter maybe in the middle, that thing is just rock solid.
And secure. Every time you push, it's rolling encrypted code, so it never plays back exactly the same. It's so you can put it in that high security arena, and it will perform quite well. And if you, and again, couple that with a Desfire EV3 tag in the back, off to the races you go. So last thing I'll show you is, again, and I'd be remiss if I didn't, is, again, there is a proximity section. Listen, a lot of people have views on proximity. I know that there's companies, we had talked about it earlier, about Brevo just made a big statement about how, moving forward into 2025, they weren't going to support any only prox only type of deployments. And you certainly have to appreciate that, I think, in terms of, moving forward in the technology. But, much to the chagrin of some of the upper end of the industry, proximity, 125 proximity is still 50% of what's going out the door. I think that there was a metric last year that over 250,000 new proximity, deployments went out. So it's still being used. One thing we have to recognize, Jeremy, is that there are really a couple of levels within our industry. If you look at the high end, the consultant specifier, enterprise class market, that really is only about 10, maybe 15% of the industry. The rest of us, are what we call SMS, or small to mid-sized systems, and again, for that particular thing. And then even a greater portion of that, if you trickle it down, you're talking about, a 2-door to 4-door system. And, then you got to start thinking about mitigated risk, or, what are these people looking for? Do they want to go with an encrypted key? Do they want, does that matter to them? I think really what they're looking for is a replacement to a hard key, not necessarily going for all the encryption or all the proprietary nature that goes along with that. And if they are concerned with security, well, again, you can put a combo keypad on a proximity reader. Here's a real beautiful one right here, man. The P620 Denali. Can go on a mullion. It's got a beautiful capacitance keypad. It reads 125 procs. It can read HID procs, Farpointe procs, AWID procs. So it's multi-format. If again, if you're going to deploy procs, if you're going to deploy it smartly, educate the customer. But again, if this is what they want, again, it's something I think that you should sell responsibly, if you are. But I don't believe that every application out there is really looking for, the highest levels of security. They or more so what goes along with that, the proprietary nature, the restricted ability to find, cards when you need them. So, again, again, I think that eventually procs will go away. But I mean, ask yourself this: has MagStripe gone away?
No,
open your wallet right now, Jeremy. I'll bet you got about 5 or 6 cards that got mag stripes on. You don't use them, but you still got them on there. So technology doesn't,
What a lot of people don't know is that some of those are still on certain banks, and that's how you get into the front door.
Oh my God! I mean, listen, a lot of people. I mean, and that's another thing too, is that inside of, let's say, a campus environment or any kind of secure environment, I mean, a lot of times what people will ask is, well, you might use your 1356 for high security type things, but you could still use 125 for, something else, like, something maybe a little bit less secure, like, laundry room or something like that, or, whatever the case may be. The other thing I'll say is this is, there's a lot of different ways. I mean, obviously we do a lot of different cards and that support proximity as well. There are cards out there as well. And let me go over here real quick. I want to show you last thing. Something to consider. This is something that came from Tom Piston, of all people, is if you look at this particular product here, this is called a DE2-125. Even though Farpointe data cannot put 125 kilohertz procs and 13.56, in the same reader, it doesn't mean that we can't put it in a credential. This is a dual frequency credential. This is a 13.56/125 credential. Now, when you think about when people do transitions, okay, because that's what a multi-class reader was designed to do, or a multi-frequency reader, to take you from 125 to a better level, to 13.56. But unfortunately, what happens in that environment is one of two things. You get bogged down halfway between the transition. Old Bob, who's been working for the company for 20 years and has his original card, doesn't want to give it up. So now you got a database with some 13.56 and 125 in there, and you never made the full transition, which is not good, because the whole point of the transition was because the card was vulnerable, the 125 card, but you don't have that. So, again, the other thing is that once you do make the transition, if you don't turn the 125 off in the reader, you still got a vulnerability that I believe IPVM brought up, is that by having the 125 active in the field on the system, you still have that as a potential hack. So we think that if you're going to do a transition, why not start it with the card first? Why not? And this is, by the way, the part that also turns a lot of people off of doing the transition, is because of the pain in the butt of having to rebadge a large card database. But you're going to have to eventually do it anyway, because that's the whole reason for the transition, is the cards that you have out there are vulnerable. They're not secure, and you want to transition. In doing it through the card first, you can basically then strategically do the readers on the building, and then eventually you don't have any 125 left out there. Dual cards are a little more expensive, but once the transition is complete, now you can go back to just 13.56 cards, and your secure transition is done. It's kind of like when your mom put something on your plate when you were a kid, like as your vegetable, and you knew that if you didn't eat everything on your plate, you weren't going to get dessert, and you really wanted dessert. And that's kind of like transition with a big card database, right? Is that you got something there you don't want to deal with. You don't want to rebadge everybody, but you got to do it eventually anyway. So I say do that first, and then do the readers afterwards. That's something that can be facilitated with a DE2-125.
And that's also good for if you have a multi business where maybe you're putting in your own readers, but then the primary building, like is the perimeter, might have something different. So if you're running out of space in a 7-story building, this might be a good spot to where you can say, hey, here's our card, put our cards in the system. You're managing our cards, but we want to use our cards because we don't want your cards to get into our business.
Perfect application, Jeremy. Perfect application.
Yeah. So do you have, now talking about this just for my audience, what reader would they use for this with you guys if they want to go completely EV2?
Well, the beauty about this one would be this, is if they were going to go do Desfire EV2, EV3, that regard, then they would go to the CSR, the Connect CSR 35, CSR 62664. That is the flagship product.
Okay.
Connect is the flagship product. But again, if they, and here's the deal too. I mean, you never know, because think about this too. Think about multi-facility as well. Listen, this facility is newer, so this facility has 13.56, but this was one of our oldest facility, and they're still using procs over there. You know what I mean? Yep. So, and what if you're the facility manager? Well, you've got the best of both worlds, because I've got a procs credential, and I've got a 13.56 credential right here.
That's perfect. No, that's see, learned something new today, that this will be huge for.
Well, I must give credit where credit is due, Jeremy. Tom Piston. It's funny because Farpointe data, I think that when in the reader credential realm, you sometimes and let me just get rid of all this real quick. I'll stop sharing, and there you go. Sometimes you're restricted by patent or things that you can do. Hey, I'd like to do that, but we can't do that. So, you got to think of very creative workarounds. And sometimes those workarounds kind of come to your favor. And one of the things for us was, of course, is that we didn't have multi-class. And a lot of people like, that multi-class, multi-frequency, reader. It was smart. It was a smart idea. The problem is that it just hasn't worked out in terms of, I think, as far as the solution, the best way to do it, because it doesn't push for the full transition over. I mean, why would you put that there? Because you're going from 125 to 13.56.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what would be the best way to do it? Okay, rip all the readers out, put 13.56, and give everybody a new 13.56. That's the best world, but that's not the way it works, right? Well, we got
Not the real world anyway, especially in these times.
Oh my God, we got 10,000 employees. It's not easier said than done. Now, one thing that mobile does for that type of thing, and I do think that mobile, this is one big factor of it, it facilitates card transition easier because I can email you that. You don't have to come to human resources to get your card or anything. I can email it to you and you can scan it on your phone just like that.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot of product offerings from long range to short range, keypad to branding. So just that's why I like talking to you guys, because we get some ideas out there that our dealers might not like think about. Like, oh, I just gave a quote for $20,000 when I could have just updated the 10 keypads, and I still have a customer and they're not going to go to another direction, and we just saved them a bunch of money. So I think people don't look at it that way these days. They just want to get in and get out, but having those ideas is awesome.
I appreciate that, Jeremy. There's a lot of, I think when it comes to readers and credentials, it's not rocket scientist. It's not overly complicated, but it is very specialized. And I think that, one thing that Farpointe has as an advantage is that, it's all we do. Like we sometimes call ourselves the Orville Redenbacher, but that guy said, do one thing and just try to do it better than everybody else. And
again, I want to thank you for joining us on this 40-minute video. We had some great insights with Farpointe, and if you have any other questions, please feel free to visit our website or get a hold of me or any of your local RSMs in your local area. And I look forward to our next video, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.